This week on What Do You Got? Schools in America.
Okay. Stay tuned.
You're listening to Bro Down Podcast all fucking day. Oh, yeah.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Burn On Podcast. I'm Tim Fulton.
I'm Andy Smith.
And this is What Do You Got? A little segment where we school ya on some random topics that the other guy brings to the table that the other guy doesn't know. I said that really weird and confusingly, but I tried something new and different. And what do you know? It's Andy's turn. Andy, what do you got?
You actually proved my point there. Schools in America. Clearly, they don't work. So, I was thinking about, like, going to school when you're a kid and hearing about how other countries, like, have different setups for schools.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. And I was like, okay, like, let's just try to think about all the shit that we went through in school and just come up with a, you know, like, pretend that we have control over it and see if we can, like,
better
it in a way. And if this goes off the rails, because it's probably gonna, it's fine. So the things that I noticed that every kid fucking hates about school is, number one, every day is like an 8.5 hour ordeal straight through, right?
Yep.
You show up in the morning and you know you're not leaving till 3 in the afternoon, basically. So, and I'm thinking, like, when you're like really little, you go from like being home all the time and you have like a year or two of like half days, right? Like kindergarten's half days, right?
Yeah.
And then is first grade half days?
I don't think so.
No. And then all of a sudden, boom, you're like in school all day, which I get it to a certain extent. I think that there probably is like a little, should be a slower transition for different grades. The other thing is that class is only 42 minutes long.
Classes are short.
Right? Like, I always remember thinking I would rather be in this class for 2 hours twice a week.
I remember liking that change when I finally hit college.
Yeah.
And being like, I have this class twice a week, and it's an hour and a half each time, and I feel like I can actually sit down and learn something. Yeah,
because that whole trying to rush to class, you get like 3 minutes in between each period. And if you are at like a Bush League ass high school like I was, there's no elevators. You got to like run up and down 3 or 4 flights of stairs, like after getting your shit. And by the time you get into the classroom, unpack your bag and all that stuff, get your books out, like there's what, half hour left?
Yep.
35 minutes?
Yep.
And then everyone's got to pack their shit up last 5 minutes of class. So you're getting like what, 25 minutes? 20 minutes, 25 minutes?
That might be an exaggeration.
Like an
but I see
episode
your
of
point.
Rocko's Modern Life.
You keep lowering the number. What do you get, like 25 minutes? Like
It's
15?
2 minutes at most.
You lose 20 minutes every time you go to a class. You go back in time. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, you revert back. So basically, like, that whole process of just rushing from class to class to class, because you're like, I think we were up to 9 classes a day. Mm-hmm. Right? It's 9 classes a day.
Ooh, I think we had 8. West Milford, or the town I lived in. God, I hope I remember to believe that. Not that anyone watches this, but my town had 8 classes, I believe.
We started off with 8. I believe there was 9 when I left. They tried to squeeze in an extra one, which was like, what?
We had some classes that took up half of lunch. So
yeah,
we had, and I think it was our computer science 1 course, which was super easy, so it wasn't that bad. But you would go to lunch for half the day or half the period, and then computer science for the other half. So you got literally 15 minutes of class.
Yeah.
Like, it was dumb.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying is, like, you can't, like, really get fully immersed in anything you're learning.
Yeah.
Because you always are kind of like,
Go.
and it's not like you're like paranoid or whatever, but it's just you can't settle down or settle in to like learning about shit.
Yeah.
And then the other thing too, I remember in senior year, I think it was junior, senior year, it was the first year where you could like choose what you wanted to take. for like 1 or 2 classes.
Oh.
Like you had like your free period or whatever
Yeah.
that you got to choose, but then it got to the point where like you had to pick an actual class. Like when your free elective, it was like woodshop, home economics, choir, whatever that was. But then there was like an actual class that you had to choose. Like you had to choose like psychology or something else like that, where it wasn't like a fuck off class, like how kids thought of like the fuck off class.
Yeah. It wasn't a home ec.
Exactly. But I just remember like just the fact that kids chose it, I felt like they were so much more interested in those classes.
Yeah, that did help a lot. See, this isn't the first time I've thought about this, and I go back and forth on this a lot, like a lot, to the point where I'm having trouble even beginning where to discuss like my thought process. But like a lot of what schools teach us, I feel like is important. Even the bullshit we don't think is important. All right, even the bullshit we don't think is important. History. Right now, you and I talk about this a lot. History repeats itself. It is important to look at things that have happened in the past to help us keep in mind of what's happening present day. But people don't think about it like that. Like, you're not sitting there being like, oh, let's look at World War II. Let's talk about all these things, and that way I can prevent World War III. Like, the general like, kids don't think like that. They just go through the motions. That's the biggest issue for me, is that I think all of the subjects are kind of important, but kids don't have the mental wherewithal to know that. Like, we just go. We're
Yeah, that's a great point, and I'm actually kind of the direction that I was going in.
Yeah.
With the next part, which is one of the suggestions was there's a lot of basic skills that are important.
Yeah.
For just everyday things like basic math, basic English, or whatever language country that you're in. And I think probably, and this is a total guess, but like I would say around like 6th, 7th grade is when you could probably start allowing the kids to kind of try to gravitate towards things that they like more. Don't give them like a shitload of options, but start allowing them to kind of like have a choice. Maybe it's only 2 choices between 2 different things, and maybe it's not for every class. But like you said with history, we never got to choose what history we learned about.
Yeah.
Like when you go into history, it was like 6th graders learn this, 7th graders learn that, 8th graders learn this. And I think that up until like the 5th or 6th grade, they should have like hey, let's think about like the important things and get like the base ground level of like certain historical things that we think that every American should know, right? Like some American knowledge about, Constitution, all this stuff, just so, because you should know about the country you live in, no matter what country that's from. You should know its history. But then like after like the 6th, 7th grade, especially high school, right? Let's just talk high school. If you could choose between, say, 3 different subjects of history for the year, and one of the other suggestions I had was block scheduling by semester. Now, you could break it up into 2 semesters a year in high school.
That I'm wholly for, because I feel like that would have a much bigger impact on retained knowledge.
Well, not only that, like, all I'm thinking is like college is broken up into 2 semesters. So you could easily break up high school in 2 semesters.
Yeah.
And we didn't really have that. Like when I was in my high school, like if you were in like calculus, you were in calculus for the whole year.
Yeah.
Or like whatever. But imagine you go in as a freshman and you have 2 semesters. First semester, they're like, all right, do you want to learn about Roman history? Do you want to learn about Egyptian history? Or do you want to learn about American history? And you get to pick one. Like, it would just like seem like you would want to learn it more even if you just had like the option.
Yeah.
To,
if you got
to
the
pick
choice, yeah.
Yeah. And it's kind of difficult to do that with other ones because you do kind of want people to have basic skills. Like math is a tough one. But you do end up getting to choose what math you take after a certain point.
Kind of.
But it does go linearly. Like,
yeah.
you kind of have to go in the same direction. But then science is not, because there's a lot of
different
kinds of science.
Yeah.
So you could take physics, you could take chemistry, whatever the hell you want. Bio. But you got to think, like, if you have 2 semesters a year and you're in, a sophomore and you take a semester of biology and you're like, I don't really like biology. You didn't fuck a whole year up on biology. Then you can take chemistry. And then you're like, oh shit, I really like chemistry. I'm gonna take another chemistry class next year. You know what I mean?
I mean, you could do that, but part of me is just playing devil's advocate here. But how do you know? Say you're in 8th grade and you're going into freshman year, and they look at you. They're like, "What would you prefer to take? Do you want to take bio or do you want to take physics?" And in your head, you're just like, "I don't know. I just got hair in funny places. I don't know what my life is like. I don't have experience in those."
It's either that or they stick you in. Right?
That's illegal. They're children.
Well, only if they find out. But it really, like you're saying, like, having a choice they don't know, but they're just choosing what they think that you want anyway.
That's true.
So instead of giving the option to where, like, because part of I think the issue with American schools is that kids go through that basically like following the soup line at like boot camp.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, after you get out of high school, and it's kind of turning like that into college now too, where like you kind of just follow the groups, and it's more like high school now, I feel, in colleges than it was 30 years ago. But like you basically are like, I'm always told what to do. Tell me what to do. And then you graduate high school and they're like, oh yeah, no one's going to make decisions for you.
Yeah, that is a real problem.
And you're like, what do you mean? I don't know what to do. And they're like, didn't they tell you this?
Didn't they tell you? Have to figure out what you want to do for the rest of your life now.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But when college is the first time that you're actually making decisions on what your interests are, instead of like one class a year in high school.
Yeah.
So you make 4 decisions. I'm not talking about whether you want to take like a study hall or, home ec. That's not like, that's one decision a year for 4 years.
Yeah. And it's a dumb decision.
Yeah. And so that's why like a lot of kids when they get out of high school, they have no idea what the fuck they want to do.
Even the classes that are our choices right now, and home ec is a great one, that you feel like should give you some basis. All right, home economics. Let's be generous here. Home economics is supposed to give you like the basics behind living by yourself, essentially, kind of.
They used to do that.
Yeah, they teach you how to cook. We learned how to sew, but like
they used to teach you how to balance your checkbook. They used to teach you how to take out a loan.
We had that stuff too.
We didn't.
Not in home ec. That was a business course.
They taught you no. Home economics. Like when my mom was in high school, she said like they taught us how to balance a checkbook and all that shit were like life skills.
Yeah.
We had tiramisu.
Yeah. We had lasagna.
Lasagna? I never took it. I took Photoshop and CAD.
Oh, of course you did.
Of course I did.
No, I took home economics. It was delicious. It was great. I also made a little light bulb.
It's a fuck off class.
Light bulb pillow.
You gonna fail me because my cake didn't taste good?
It was a fuck off class, but it was a great class. But to your point, see, that's. I was talking to somebody about this. And I think it was actually your cousin, about like the basic life skills thing. Like you need to know how to balance a checkbook. You need to know how to balance a checkbook. But
just the what do you call it? The like the essence of balancing a checkbook. You might not have to balance a checkbook in real life anymore, but you need to understand how to do something like that.
It helps though.
No, that's what I'm saying. Like the idea of managing money, managing your money.
We did have a class like that. It was an elective, so it was by choice. But we had a class. It was and it was actually a lot of fun. Maybe it was because I got to choose it. We did a bunch of stuff like that, but we also got assigned a life partner, and we got a set salary, and we had to figure out like what we were doing every month, like in terms of bills, this, that. We got to buy a house online, like we got to look around and like find something we want to purchase, and like we had to budget, so we had to set a monthly budget, and it was awesome because the girl that was my wife in the class, we had her cousin and his wife live in our basement because we randomly got assigned money and we were loaded, and they randomly got assigned poor. Like,
okay,
poor.
So you were like, hey, we'll help you out.
Yeah, you can live in our basement.
But isn't that funny that you remember all that And I'm not saying it's only because you got to choose the class. I mean, it sounds like the teacher was like pretty excited to teach that class with those kind of exercises.
Yeah.
But one of the other things I was thinking about was like this whole, what do you think if like high school teachers, and I think one of the biggest issues, and I know a lot of people like, so many people like hate teachers.
Yeah.
And they think they make too much money. Like I know a couple teachers, they don't make a lot of money. But you kind of at some point get what you pay for.
Yeah.
That has a falling off point, but the whole premise in my mind of you get what you pay for is you get what you pay for to a certain extent, and then it kind of, you don't get what you pay for anymore. It's like it has a fall off where people just don't do it only for the money.
Yeah.
But then again, if you don't pay enough, you have to take whatever they give you.
Yes.
You can't say no because no one can afford, not wants to do the job. They can't afford to have that job. So that's number one. Number two is, what if teachers were like college professors?
I mean, they kind of are in essence. Well, I
No.
don't know what you're getting
what
at.
I'm saying is that if you work, and it'd be so hard to restructure this, but just hear me out. We're lords of the world, so we can do whatever we want. But we're talking about now having options of multiple classes, which means multiple subjects, all that stuff. So you're going to have a couple teachers that are like probably working full time.
Yeah.
Right? They have to work full time because the basic classes need to be fulfilled. But then like your electives and stuff like that, like maybe you only have that teacher come in and teach those classes, but maybe he teaches at 3 different schools.
Okay.
Like he'll teach at West Milford on a Wednesday, he'll teach at Butler on a Saturday or a Friday, and he'll teach in Kinnelon on a Thursday. Like professors do that all the time.
Yeah, I see where you're getting with that. I can see where you're getting with that.
And the other thing too is that way you can hire teachers part-time.
Or even going off of what you were discussing a little bit earlier, if we do a semester type thing, maybe you have a biology available in town A for semester 1, and town B gets the same professor, same class for semester 2. So that way the same guy can focus in on one area or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, it would be the part where when I was thinking about this, getting into that was the school districts, the pay scales, the unions, and all that shit. That's where that would get like very.
The logistics are disgusting.
The logistics are disgusting.
We're just thinking about it, though.
But it's fun to think about because if you had block scheduling, number one, I think a lot more people would be wanting to do that job because it's not an 8-hour a day or 9-hour a day job. If you have 2 English classes that day, you go in. If you don't have any on Thursday, you don't work that day.
Yeah.
And then you could have a part-time job all year round on Thursdays, or teach at a different school on Thursdays that does Thursday classes. Excuse me. But I'm gonna pull out some fucking internet knowledge here. I'm pretty sure I heard somewhere, or someone told me, that's when you know it's real. The American school system is basically set up to teach people how to work basically like factory jobs. Like it was kind of geared towards getting people used to going to a place for 8 hours a day, working in shifts, giving them basic knowledge about like mathematics and stuff like that, because school was not like that in America like early 1900s. It was set up like college.
Well, the early 1900s, kids were like, all right, I gotta go to school. It's 3 miles away. I'm gonna run through the prairie to get there. See, I don't know if I agree with that. I don't think.
No.
I think the structure is very similar, eerily so, but I don't think it was purposely intended to.
I don't know if it was. This is just something that I remember hearing about. So it's super fun. It's barely a memory. Okay. But the school system in America is like relatively new compared to like the age. Granted, a lot of people that were of our class didn't go to school when they were like 150 years ago. Like
fair.
Very little education. But I I think we're kind of past that whole, like, I think this system is kind of fucking, we kind of realize there's a lot of, like, not working in it.
There is a lot of stuff not working in it, and and this is where I go back and forth. So there's definitely not a lot working in it. It definitely needs to be rehashed. But the general question is how. I definitely like your semester or bigger time block idea. But other than that, like, I can't think of what. I mean, time is still limited. So if we want to introduce new things, new topics, what do you take away? So yeah, you might say, what do you want to learn? Do you want to learn biology? Do you want to learn physics? Do you want to learn geoscience? But to me, I think all three of those topics are important. So not that everyone is going to walk around being like, I have biology behind me, but I think a general population who has a fundamental understanding of biology is going to be a better off population than one that has a third of them has biology, a third of them has physics, a third of them. But real fast. But
I just have a question. That's why I put my
shoot.
No, after you're done.
But we're not successfully doing that. I think that's the intention, to have a society who has basic understanding of arithmetic, a basic understanding of history, a basic understanding of the various elements of science, so on and so forth. But we're failing in all of it.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
I said I was going to ask if you think that that's actually happening.
No, but then how do you do it is the point. Like, you can't, the success of it isn't going to be like, let them choose to opt out of biology.
No.
That will fail them.
Well,
I'm not trying to poo-poo your idea either. I'm just trying to, like...
No, I guess it's a fair point, because I agree. Like, there should be basic things that you understand, which is why I was trying to figure out, like, at what age you start giving them decisions.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. But at the same time, like, if you have a basic understanding of biology, right? Like, if you, like, how much do you remember about biology from high school?
I mean, that's a difficult question to answer. 70%.
But if someone gave you a biology test from high school right now, do you think you could pass it?
I don't know.
I'm
generally no, but that's because there's probably a lot of terminology that I would fail in. But there are key concepts that I feel like I remember.
Yes, but I guess for what I'm thinking about is, if I'm sitting in a classroom learning about something I don't give a shit about, it would be more beneficial if I took something I was interested in that I was actually going to remember. I'm looking at this from, like, more of an engagement rather than, like, a numbers thing. Like,
yeah, and that's part of the issue, is that there's multiple ways to look at this.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm looking at this from a societal point of view. Imagine you have, if this is an extreme example for the point of being extreme, but imagine you have the ability of choice, and everyone decides that they want to learn about Egypt when they get into high school. So everyone learns about Egypt, and then you realize 10 years later that the past 10 years worth of high school students don't know what World War II is. Again, extreme example for the point of extremism. But imagine that people don't even know the basics. They don't know.
I don't think they know the basics now.
Well, that's part of the problem. But, like,
yeah,
they don't know who were the Axis and the Allies. Who was what side again? Like,
but that part of my point is that the system right now, and I agree with you. Yeah. I agree with you.
Yeah.
But
we're going in circles because we agree with each other, and we're pointing in the flaws.
I guess what I'm saying is, you can't. Part of the problem is that, like, No Kid Left Behind thing they did, and they kind of just push kids through the system even when they're not really passing. But I don't think that anyone, like, if someone, like, if everyone took Egypt and they actually knew shit about that subject, as opposed to learning about the Renaissance period and not retaining anything from it.
That's true.
Which one is better?
Yeah, I agree with that sentiment.
Like, I guess that's what I mean, because I agree. The history of the country, and, like, there's certain world events that you should learn, but so many people don't know anything about those. And they all went to school in America.
Yeah.
And they still don't know.
Yeah.
So clearly it's either not sinking in, they're not interested in it, or they forgot.
Yeah. And I feel like that's the big question. What is the disconnect here?
Yeah. Like a lot of people don't know, like even like the years that major things happened. They don't know major things that me and you consider like common knowledge. It's not.
Yeah.
It's not common knowledge, which again, it's your circle, but I don't know. I don't know. This is a weird one. I'm just disappointed. I'm just disappointed all around.
I'm not angry. I'm just disappointed.
I'm just disappointed, buddy. Yeah, so that's what I wanted to talk about.
Well, that was dumb. Anyway,
Yeah, it was dumb. You know why? Because we went to school here.
No, I see all of your points.
Yeah,
We don't know how to make it better, but there has to be a better.
I guess if two dudes in a barn can't fix the American education system, nobody can.
No one. Lost cause. Burn it down. Start over.
I spelled school wrong.
Spelled America wrong.
I did it on purpose.
Yeah, I pieced that together.
On purpose. Totally.
All right, guys, let us know in the comment section down below. How would you fix the American school system or the Asian school system or whatever school system you're in? Are we really that much worse than the rest of the world? Show me the stats. Don't forget to like and subscribe, hit that little bell notification so you can make sure you get all of our podcasts. We are coming in twice a week. Don't forget Tuesdays is Dear Bros. Thursdays is What Do You Got, which I would assume you know because you are here watching it. What Do You Got? We'll catch you guys next time.
Later.
You're listening to Bro Down Podcast all